And I went into Nagasaki one night with a load of something, and as usual, while you flew the C-46, no matter where you landed, somebody always had another load to go to somewhere else. So you may not get back to your base for 3 or 4 weeks. You drop one off and pick up another one, and you never get. Finally, you have to refuse to take one in order to go back to get some clean clothes or something. But I learned it in Nagasaki that night, and this guy come out and he says, "I got another load. It's 5 o'clock." He says, "I got a load to go up to Fukuoka." I said, 5 o'clock? What do you want? It's black again. He says, "Well, it'll only take you a few minutes to go up there." He said, "I've got a captain and a sergeant and a payroll." Big, I don't know how much was in the payroll. It was a big thing. So, okay. We take off for Fukuoka with the captain and the sergeant in the back. And we get up there, and at that time, if you remember, MacArthur's dictation was that all aircraft remove the props from all Japanese aircraft. Well, Fukuoka had a beautiful strip, a concrete strip, and here was a whole list of fighter aircraft with the props still on them. So, and not a soul around, nothing, barracks over here. So I get on the radio to Nagasaki and I said, "Something's weird up here. The props are all on the aircraft and there's nobody around and the war is over." "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Keep in contact." So we circle around for a while and we go on into Fukuoka. Very odd. Okay, we shut down the props. In that length of time, we had 50 Japanese soldiers with rifles right alongside of us with one lieutenant. I said, "Oh boy." So I get back on the radio. We're on the ground. No radio. Couldn't reach Nagasaki at all. I said, "Hey, we got problems." So there was only the radio man. No, I didn't have a radio man. I had a co-pilot and myself and a mechanic because we were going right back. So I said to the mechanic, "How are we equipped? We're not equipped for this bunch of guys anyhow." He says, "We have one Tommy gun and no ammunition." That's typical. Either that, how we are fixed for hydraulic fluid, we have plenty of tanks and they're all empty. That's usually what you got. So the lieutenant was very persistent. We stayed in the airplane for a while. Oh, what happened was even the funnier. The mechanic, my mechanic, didn't realize what was going on. He flips open the back door, down the steps, over to the airplanes. He's scrounging for souvenirs. They take him up, pick him up, put him back in the airplane just like that. I said, "Hey, we have fun. And what the hell are you going to do? You can't speak to this guy." So they dillied around there for a couple of hours. And lo and behold, it was funny. It wasn't funny. In comes a truck onto the strip. And out of the truck gets a girl and a man. It turns out to be a Stanford graduate, believe it or not. And that was her father. And they were from in town. Somebody sent in town to get them and bring them out so we could interpret. So she sat in the back of the airplane with her father and a lieutenant for 3 hours while they jackered back and forth. And the lieutenant was so interested in getting up into the cockpit that I didn't want him breaking anything up, literally, so she finally convinced him that the war was over. What happened, he was in charge of this infantry group, and he was told to come in to that airfield and guard those airplanes. And all the flyers left. And nobody told him the war was over at all. So he thinks he's still war. And I said, boy, I'm damn glad you could speak English. She convinced him, but it took many hours. And finally he got up in the airplane, and then he said he wanted to go up front, and I said, I prefer he didn't go up front. I don't know what his indications are, but if he still thinks he's fighting, he's going to blow up that thing. So here is, in the middle of all this, here's the captain and a sergeant with sidearms in the airplane with this crate. And it's still 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm glad that she must have talked to him right, because up comes the 6x6 truck, U.S. truck, right in the middle of everything, don't pay attention to anything, backs up to the airplane. The captain says, that's from the infantry outfit that we have the payroll for. I said, that's great, Captain. Are you going to leave? He says, yeah, I'm leaving with the payroll. They took the payroll, threw it in the truck. Off they go. And here's these guys still standing out there at attention, you know. I said, this is crazy. The lieutenant had got down and talked to them about what she told them, that the war was all over and all that stuff. But they still stood at attention. And that was comforting. And the next morning, we're still there. The next morning, out comes, I guess you call him the mayor of the town. He was the local town. And they talked it all around. And man, there must have been 200 people came out on that airport. And so the girl says, I think they would like you to give them a little, they never saw an airplane that big, and they'd like to give you a pass-by. I said, I'd be happy to get out of here. We had to go down to town with the guy. They took us downtown and showed us around. And I said, here's a half of guys that don't know the war's over, and here's the other half that are treating us like visitors, you know. So, and I never forget my co-pilot. He said, God, nobody will believe this. He said, so we took pictures of the airplanes with the props on. And then we buzzed the guys on the strip so low that they flattened on the deck that morning. We got out of there and back to Nagasaki. And I got intelligence at Nagasaki, and I said, you guys are about as intelligent as... Man, he didn't know anybody else going up there. Oh, he said, they were supposed to be warned. I said, that's nice. I'm glad. I'm glad they have one girl up there that could speak English. We wouldn't be here this morning.
Did they surrender their arms to you, or did they kept their arms and waited for a follow-up of Americans to come and accept their official surrender?
The Americans were over somewhere on a couple of miles from there. That's what the payroll was for.
So they didn't even bother to care about those Japanese soldiers that were left behind?
Well, they didn't say anything, and the guy, I don't know what they thought when they drove that truck in. Of course, it was dark again. And the captain was happy to get out of there. But, of course, he knew the girl would speak English by that time. But he didn't waste any time getting out. He and the sergeant jumped on that back where the truck, and off they went. I said, I don't know what the hell's going on. But it was the next morning, it was all cleared off. The soldiers were all back in the barracks. There was a lot of barracks there. And the lieutenant was there by himself. And then all the townspeople. So that was one of the queer ones. But Nagasaki says, we don't know anything about that. We don't know that there's a group up there or anything. They were supposed to be empty. I said, well, how come somebody didn't go up and check the airplane? Stuff they could flown over and take a picture. That was a queer one.